Good morning, class. In the previous video we learned about the climatic hazards. Flood, I told you about the cloudburst. Drought, we learned about the bushfires. Then we learned about human-made disasters. First was chemical disasters. I told you about the Vizag or Visakhapatnam gas leak also, where the styrene gas leaked and a number of people died and thousands were taken sick on 7th of May 2020. Then we talked about the biological disasters. Then in that we particularly talked about the pneumonic plague or the Black Death of Surat in 1994. Then terrorism. There is nothing new to tell you, that you know very well that all over the world terrorism is something which is plaguing all nations of the world as of now. Then we learned about the accidental disasters, especially then we learned about oil spill. Now today we are going to do different case studies on page number 47. We are going to discuss 3 specific conditions in which natural disasters hit humans and the environment with its possible phase. The material loss might have been estimated in terms of monetary value. However, the mental agony and emotional damage cannot be recovered in any term. What mental agony and emotional damage, children? When we talk about any kind of, whether it can be chemical hazard, chemical disaster, biological, climatic hazards, human-made disasters, when there is loss to life, then we lose our loved ones, our dear ones, and it causes a lot of mental agony. Some of the property that we have cherished, things, memories, when they cherish, that time also we go through a lot of emotional damage. Not to talk about how hard we had worked to give our family some luxuries, some necessities, building up our home, and when it comes, it is destroyed, then of course it is very painful. Now, in front of nature's harsh will, human technology and development falls meagre, the helplessness rises steep, and we only stand in the receiving end. That in the end, it is not the humans who win, they are always at the receiving end. Now, first they have talked about the floods in Assam in 2017. Floods in Assam have caused huge destruction to the life and properties of lakhs of people. Almost 150 people lost their lives and goods and properties damaged worth over 2,929 crores of rupees. The causes and effects of this 2017 Assam flood are discussed here. So it's not important when that flood took place, but what were the causes and effects, because it is from here that we learn certain lessons if we are smart. Otherwise the same thing will keep on happening again, and there will be destruction to life and property as such. Now, the cause of floods in Assam is heavy and continuous rainfall during the monsoon. On the other hand, the accumulation of water and gradual rising of water level in the low-lying plains of Assam aggravate the flood situation to higher level. The river is not the Brahmaputra river, it's a mighty river, children, but it is not very deep. So there is a lot of, the river, just a little bit of rainfall. A little bit of rainfall doesn't mean just a few centimeters of rainfall, but if the rainfall is incessant, then the water level in the rivers rise and it overflows its bank, therefore causing flood situation in the adjoining areas. Now, another major cause is the mighty river Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra covers the whole of Assam, moving from east to west and finally entering Bangladesh. It carries a large amount of water along with silt and mud. Huge construction work has been done on the river banks. Hence, during the heavy rainfall season, the river breaks the natural levees, causing havoc in the whole state. So whatever natural levees or embankments are there, the river overflows them or breaks them. Now, effect. These were the causes. Now, it is incessant rain. Brahmaputra, though being a mighty and a huge river, but still shallow by that standard. Then the natural levees are destroyed. Now the effects. The overflowing water of the river has damaged the river embankments, roads, bridges on the river and infrastructure including housing. Large number of people are taking shelter in relief camps. See, if the river is overflowing its bank and the nearby we have fields of crops, so of course that too will be destroyed. The standing crop of about 1.83 lakh hectares has been submerged and destroyed. The transport and communication system have been disrupted to such an extent that Assam has been cut off from the rest of Indian territory. Now this happened during the floods in 2017. Then they have talked about large numbers of people have been displaced from the villages as their mud huts washed away completely in the flood water. So people living near the river, and especially when the river the houses were kacha houses, they all got washed away. Waterborne diseases such as jaundice and cholera created havoc once the flood water started receding. So this is another major problem in the flood. It is not just that during the flood, when the area is flooded with water, that the problem people face. It is just when the flood water recede, such waterborne diseases like jaundice and cholera also create havoc or loss to life. Then in Kaziranga National Park, large numbers of animals such as rhinos, Royal Bengal tiger and elephants have lost their lives due to drowning. Around 215 animals died in 2017 flood. So it's a huge number. These animals which we are talking about are already protected species. So them dying in a major huge number is kind of a drawback to the environment as such. Now then, after the floods in Assam in 2017, the next case study is from earthquakes in Nepal in 2015. Now all those who had somebody or the other who was stuck in that particular country as tourists during that period must be knowing how really terrible it was. Now on 25th April 2015, an earthquake with 7.8 magnitudes on the Richter scale hit Kathmandu. Now we all know that Nepal borders India on the northern territory. Now, so as such, it is situated in the Himalayas. It is a mountainous country, the capital of Himalayan country Nepal and its surrounding areas. There were almost 100 aftershocks felt after the main shock. So the first aftershock was 7.8 magnitude on the Richter scale. But the major earthquake, but the aftershocks were no less they were when we compare it to 7.8 magnitude of the main earthquake, they were no less than the main one, and it kept on destroying life and poverty. Even the relief work was hampered in so many places. Underlying aftershocks are the minor tremors that may occur after a major shaking of the main magnitude of the earthquake. Now see children, the best way to learn about aftershock is that if you throw a stone into a river, lake, pond or even in a small bucket of water, then the water displacement is not just till then. You can see the ripples even after that. So this is how the simplest or the layman way of explaining the aftershocks. Now the causes and effects of the earthquake are discussed here. So first we will look into the causes of the earthquake in Nepal in 2015. The Nepal earthquake happened due to the movement of Indian tectonic plate under the Eurasian tectonic plate. Now we all know that about the tectonic plates. We have learned about science and we have learned about in geography as well, that all solid structures, it is floating. The tectonic plates are kind of floating, the flow is not very fast, but on the molten magma, and when they clash against each other, earthquakes occur. So this happened because of the Indian tectonic plate under the Eurasian tectonic plate. The Indian plate is constantly moving and pushing under the Eurasian plate. As the Indian plate was pushing under the Eurasian plate, friction was creating, resulting into stress. So two solid structures, and we are not just talking about two small pieces of solid structure, we are talking about hundreds of kilometers of tectonic plates in length and in width also. Now, this stress was released in the form of shaking felt on the Earth's surface. The location of the earthquake was 80 kilometers away from Kathmandu, Nepal's capital. The depth of the earthquake was only 12 kilometers, which is considered a shallow earthquake. So, when we talk about 12 kilometers, it is a shallow earthquake. Underline, a shallow earthquake is more destructive. The tremors of this huge earthquake even shook Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan and India. So, because it was a shallow earthquake, the tremors were felt far and wide. Now, they say the Nepal earthquake in 2015 was the second most destructive one in the country after the one which took place in 1934. That time the magnitude was 8.2. So you can imagine the destruction of life and property. Now, effects of Nepal earthquake in 2015. Now children, this we will take the effects of Nepal earthquake in 2015. This we will take care in the next video. It is quite lengthy, and otherwise the video will also become lengthy and it will be difficult for you to download it. So till that time, I want you to go through the case study of floods in Assam in 2017 once again, and the causes of Nepal earthquake in 2015. Anything which is difficult to understand, please note it down, mark it up in your textbook and ask me when the school reopens. Till that time, stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you.